The Book of Boba Fett Episode 1, Stranger in a Strange Land, so far has been getting great reception among the Star Wars fans around the globe. A lot of fans are very much impressed with what Robert Rodriguez had developed, along with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars updates. Also, by the way, guys, I am on Twitter at Mike01 if you guys want to go ahead and give me a follow on there. I do post a couple of entertaining things from time to time and really make sure to interact with you guys further. So, the thing about the Book of Boba Fett right now is that Episode 1 really answered some of those burning questions that we have all had for a very, very long time without giving anything away. Go ahead and check it out. It is now on Disney+. Now, moving on beyond all of this, one thing that we do know about Disney Star Wars is that creators like Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni, Peyton, of course, Reed, as well as others like George Lucas and others coming on board like Rodriguez and Deborah Chow on other Star Wars TV shows and other opportunities that they are getting offered by Disney. We have a lot in store for Star Wars Celebration of 2022. That is going to be the very year in which we're going to be learning more and more about the roadmap and exactly which Star Wars TV shows are going to be releasing when, and exactly which shows become, released before or after other Star Wars TV shows out there. So, with that being said, what's even all the more intriguing has everything to do with Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy. Now, we know that recently she was let go from Star Wars The Old Republic TV series that's going to be done in live-action form. We already know that the Star Wars TV shows in general really hold no connection to Kathleen Kennedy. Now, there are residual TV shows that she has attachments to on a creative scale that she is slowly getting let go from. The one major one, though, is the Acolyte TV series that remains, and recently Kathleen Kennedy was able to talk a little bit more about, her overall view of Jon and Dave's vision of Star Wars. So, with Disney and Lucasfilm getting ready to make major announcements at Star Wars Celebration for new shows and movies, both Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni are actively developing new unannounced shows that will be unveiled at the event in May. However, it's described that behind the scenes, Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy has been having a very hard time after she was let go from the Old Republic TV series for Disney Plus on a creative scale, and how Bob Chapek essentially fired her from the series. Now, in a recent interview with Kathleen Kennedy, this frustration of hers was seen through what she recently had to say about George Lucas and others. Kathleen Kennedy went on to state that, "I believe that what Jon and Dave are doing by using many of George's concepts and ideas for the Book of Boba and Mandalorian and all these other projects is seriously risky and is making me feel uneasy about how the future of Star Wars is going to be handled. When you look at Star Wars, it's not all about George. It's not all about his vision. This is something that the fans need to realize. It's about evolving and putting everything behind eventually. I feel what Jon and Dave are doing by refusing or reusing many of George's creations and characters that he had created from the prequels and originals is just a bit irresponsible at times and needs to be regulated." Now, let me just stop right here for a second. This is very much on par with the statement that Kathleen Kennedy said some months ago that there is no source material, there is no Star Wars Legends material to pull from and use in the Disney canon. I mean, these are the lies that Kathleen Kennedy likes to spew and say to people that are becoming new fans that may not even know all that much about Legends. Now, obviously, when you look at everything related to Kathleen Kennedy, she's been saying these types of things on and off for a couple of years now, of how they need to move past George's vision, they need to move past George's creations and his characters in a sense, and how Kathleen Kennedy just wants to focus on her own creations, and that is it strictly, which is why she is so invested and so engaged with the Acolyte TV series, because let's not forget and make no mistake, it is considered the High Republic era of Star Wars, at the very tail end of it at least, right before The Phantom Menace, like 60 to 70 years before Episode 1. So, moving on, Kathleen Kennedy went on to further state that in the beginning, this is why I did not move forward with the Boba Fett Star Wars movie, or a film about Kenobi in the end after trying this on and off. I felt that we needed to move on to new characters and new stories, and by replicating George's work, this could go down a wrong path if not handled rightfully so. Kennedy goes on to reveal, I have nothing wrong with John and Dave personally, but creatively, there needs to be more diversity involved in these characters that we are throwing in there. Alright, so here we go again with the diversity statement by Kathleen Kennedy, right? This never really seems to end with Kathleen Kennedy's mindset. It's never enough, it never stops, there's never a brick wall that she hits. It just seems like that this is the overall structure of her arguments all the time. So, moving on from this, alright, she goes on to say that, you see, it's not just about spaceships and lightsabers, but it's about teaching our kids a lesson of what's going on in the world today that is so important, that is something that we should be taught through a show like Star Wars and more. Now, this kind of reminds me of what Kathleen Kennedy did in Solo, A Star Wars Story, right? Where you had the moment, I believe it was midway through the movie, maybe a little bit past midway through. It's when you have, of course, L3, I believe, some of the other characters like Lando, Kira in there, in the cockpit of the Falcon. There is a moment where they ask L3 if she needs anything, and L3 responds, equal rights. You know, these are the kinds of things that Kathleen Kennedy throws in Star Wars. If you guys listen very carefully, I believe Solo, A Star Wars Story basically had moments like that that were really overreaching of, you know, real-world issues or real-world, you know, arguments and such, throwing that into Star Wars. I feel that they need to kind of just back off from that completely. So, she goes on to state that, and that is something that myself and Leslye are working on with the Acolyte series, by really introducing all of this. This is why we are moving past George's vision on the franchise and why it needs to evolve. We live in different times now, where our children need to find a fun way of learning more about this complicated world that we live in, and finding that balance is always tough. Is always a tough thing to pursue. Kennedy additionally went on to state that, I'm not saying I dislike George's characters, but what I'm saying is that we need to eventually drop them entirely and forget about them in order for this franchise to roll with the changes and how this new generation is tuned to, of course, or what they feel makes Star Wars, essentially. I have no doubt that we will reach that point in time eventually, and it's a goal of mine, and it's a goal that I am so proud of to be chasing, that new fans will eventually be able to see in our upcoming show, The Acolyte. Now, can I just say one thing here, is that Kathleen Kennedy really needs to kind of really back off on these statements where she kind of just keeps on talking and talking about these real-world issues and real-world problems and how they should be addressed in Star Wars and how it should be tuned to the new generation of the franchise, right? The new generation of fans, I should say. That needs to really be dialed down, and there needs to be some kind of control by Disney of her not saying things like this, because if anything, it just kind of creates more problems between the hardcore fans, and even the casual fans are really not all about Kathleen Kennedy. I mean, when you look at all of the shows that are in the roster that have no creative involvement with Kathleen Kennedy, like the Book of Boba, or Mando Season 3, Kenobi, Ahsoka, everything is looking up. And after watching episode 1, you know, of the Book of Boba Fett, you can see how much of a breath of fresh air it really is, because it just has a lot of passion poured into it. Really, guys, if you have not seen the Book of Boba Fett episode 1, go ahead and check it out as soon as you can. It is a masterpiece. So, overall, guys, you know, drop a comment below. Let me know about all this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.